Hello and welcome to your December edition of Book Bites Elementary Nibbles. My name is Miss Karen and I'm a librarian here at the Hillsborough Public Library. This month I'll be recommending some chapter books for grades K through 6. For December, we have books that feature one of my favorite winter activities, baking. When winter starts up and it gets cold and dark, baking is a fun and delicious way to bring warmth and cheer into your home. So not only does this month have some great chapter books featuring characters who love to bake, but I also included on our list some of my favorite baking cookbooks for kids because you are never too young to start baking something tasty and sweet. Our first selection for this month's book talk is From the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks. Zoe is an up-and-coming baker who is determined to be on a kids' baking competition television show, and also, after starting a correspondence with her father who's been in jail her whole life, determined to prove that he's really innocent. This book is a timely tale that tackles tough issues like our justice system, race, honesty, stereotypes, and more, but it's still a lot of fun with plenty of smiles and tasty baking along the way. My next book this month is Pie in the Sky by Remy Lai. When Jingwen immigrates to Australia, he feels like a Martian, completely out of his element. So he decides to make all of the cakes that he and his father had planned to sell in their shop, but he and his brother aren't supposed to turn on the stove while their mother is out. This illustrated novel has an undercurrent of sadness, but still plenty of fun and giggles as well, and also lots of delicious sounding desserts. And the final book for this month's edition is Midsummer's Mayhem by Rajani Laraka. This delightful retelling of Shakespeare mixes things up quite a bit. Mimi Jackson is part of a big, bustling Indian American family with a food critic father, a businesswoman mother, and 3 talented older siblings. When she decides to prove her worth by winning a baking competition at a local bakery, she meets a strange boy who takes her into the woods for exotic ingredients. But as her father and siblings all begin acting strangely, Mimi starts to wonder if she's the cause of the confusion. A delightful and funny tale full of deliciousness and heart. But which book will we get a delicious taste of this month? I'll be reading you the beginning of Midsummer's Mayhem by Rajani Laraka. Chapter 1, The New Neighbors. The song from the woods first called to me on a bright June morning while I sat on the back porch swing rereading my favorite cookbook. I could only hear a few notes, a small taste of a half-remembered melody that meandered through the air, but I was instantly hungry to hear the whole thing and discover where it came from. I crossed the yard and stopped at the edge of the woods. As the music drifted toward me like an irresistible aroma, I held my breath and stepped into the trees. "Hey, Mimi!" My big sister Jules's voice yanked me back to reality. I spun around. She was dribbling a soccer ball, of course. She leaped over the ball and ran to me. "I need your help." I pushed my hair out of my eyes. That's the kind of hair I have, the kind that's always in my face. "Did you hear that?" I asked, sure I could still hear lingering notes in the summer air. "I want to—" Jules grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the porch. She pointed at the driveway next door where a moving van and a silver car were parked. "The new neighbors are here. Let's bring them the brownies we baked this morning." "But those are for Dad." "Welcome home brownies, since he's been gone all week." "Make him something else. Come on, don't let them see us yet." "But—" A tall teenage boy with shaggy brown hair was carrying boxes into what used to be my best friend Emma's house. So that was why Jules wanted to go next door. "He's cute, huh?" Jules said. I shrugged. He looked around Jules's age, 15 or 16. "I want to make a good first impression. Bring the brownies, and whatever you do, don't tell Ria." Our older sister, Ria, is a year older than Jules and 5 years older than me. She's like an Aleppo pepper, striking and fragrant, but with a substantial kick. We reached the back porch and Jules pulled her dark hair out of its ponytail. "I'll be down in a minute." She sprinted inside and bounded up the stairs. I turned to the woods and listened again. Nothing. I missed the song already. Where had it come from? It had been a single fluid line of a melody, repetitive, insistent. It might have been a bird, but it had an elusive quality that made me wonder. Why did it sound so familiar? I couldn't care less about the new neighbors. I wanted to turn right back around and head into the woods like I used to do with Emma. She loved quests. If only she still lived next door. But Jules would take my brownies over there whether I liked it or not, so I figured I should at least make sure they were presented attractively. I grabbed my cookbook off the porch swing and went into the kitchen. As I cut the brownies and put them on my favorite purple platter, I couldn't help smiling at the scent of chocolate and cinnamon. These were supposed to be for Dad, who loved chocolate. Who didn't? But would particularly appreciate the warm spices I'd put into them. I'd even added a dash of cayenne for extra zing. "How now, spirit, whither wander you?" My brother Henry made a beeline for the brownies. I blocked his arm before he could grab one, and he recoiled dramatically. He was constantly reciting lines from the latest play he was performing in and barely spoke normal English anymore. "None for you, Shakespeare," I said. "Not unless you come next door with us. We're taking them to the new neighbors." Henry bowed deeply. "Fear not, my lord, your servant shall do so." He took a pitcher of lemonade from the fridge and poured a glass. "What's going on?" said Ria. I hadn't heard her come into the room, but then, being light on her feet was one of the things that made Ria such a great dancer. She looked up from her phone just long enough to scrutinize me with hawk-like eyes. "Oh, nothing," I said nonchalantly. Jules would kill me if Ria found out our plan and tried to tag along with us. Every boy Jules liked seemed to become obsessed with Ria instead. We're saying hi to the new neighbors," said Henry. I'm going for Mimi's fantastic brownies." "How remarkably boring," said Ria with a smile. She turned back to her phone. That was a close call. I let out a relieved breath and finished arranging the brownies. Bits of the song from the woods played in my mind. It tugged at me like a secret waiting around a corner. Jules barreled back into the room. "Ready, Mimi?" Her hair was in a ponytail as always, but it was neater than usual and her lips glistened. She stopped short. "What's everyone doing in here?" Ria sized up Jules. "We've been waiting for you. We all want to meet our new friends next door, don't we?" Jules glared at me and mouthed, "Thanks." I was about to explain that it wasn't my fault, but Jules had already grabbed the platter and stormed out the door. "Jules, hold up," I called. Jules muttered under her breath as she launched herself down the porch steps. She found the soccer ball and started dribbling it into the yard next door. "Well, that should impress whatever boys she's after. If there's one thing boys love, it's a girl who can kick." Ria glided down the steps and started across the grass. I turned to Henry. "Quick, before they pull each other's hair out." "I'll put a girdle round the earth in 40 minutes," said Henry, whatever that meant, but he was out on the porch with me in 4 seconds. As we hurried into Emma's yard, I thought I saw something move behind the swing set. No, it was just a bird. I listened again for the song, but only the whisper of wind in the trees floated back to me. The melody had been happy and sad. It reminded me of all the time I'd spent in the woods with Emma and how we'd never have another summer together, laughing and telling stories in the woods we both loved. And that is the beginning of Midsummer's Murder by Rosani LaRocca. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me for this month's Book Bites Elementary Nibbles. Don't forget to check out the book list for more great chapter books as well as those baking cookbooks for kids. I hope you have a warm and cozy end of the year with all the baked goods your heart desires. Have a wonderful December and a Happy New Year.